Warriors, welcome back to Gods of Alliance. If you are here, it means you want power, knowledge, and control over the battlefield. This is not luck, this is strategy. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Every bit of support helps the channel grow and helps us continue breaking down the game together. And today, we finally have Miyu in our hands. We already saw the announcement. We saw the first information from the developers, but now we actually have access to her skills and relic mechanics. And after spending time analyzing her kit, one thing becomes very clear. Miyu is not a normal support hero. She introduces a completely new mechanic to the game, where blindness is no longer a weakness, it becomes power. Right now, we are testing her heavily, because this is a very special hero, and her mechanics can change how magical teams work in Hero Wars Alliance. So today we are going to break down her abilities in the correct order, understand how they interact with each other, and then explain how her relic system amplifies those mechanics. Because when you look at Miyu carefully, you realize that she was clearly designed to empower magic teams. And heroes like Iris, Fólio, Polaris, and other mages with magical critical hit mechanics can benefit massively from what she brings to the battlefield. So let's start with her first ability, Lightning Strike. Miyu creates a flash of lightning that blinds all allies and enemies on the battlefield for 6 seconds while dealing magical damage to enemies. Normally, blindness is considered a negative effect in Hero Wars. Blindness usually causes attacks to miss, but Miyu completely changes this rule. While any blindness effect is active, allies will always hit enemies, and their attacks cannot be evaded. So instead of weakening your team, blindness becomes an offensive advantage. And there is another important detail here. Miyu herself is always blinded. This means that her entire design is built around this mechanic. From the moment the battle begins, blindness is already part of the fight. And because of that, Lightning Strike becomes the foundation of her entire kit. It spreads blindness everywhere and activates the synergy for the rest of her abilities. Now let's move to her second skill, Veil of Insight. This ability blinds the ally standing directly in front of Miyu for 5 seconds. Again, normally this would sound like a problem for your own team, but once again, Miyu transforms blindness into an advantage. Any blindness affecting allies increases their magical critical hit chance. This is where things start getting very interesting, because magical critical hits are not very common across all heroes. But there are specific heroes that rely on them heavily. For example, Iris. Iris can benefit enormously from magical critical chance increases. The same applies to Fólio, who also scales extremely well with magical critical interactions. Polaris is another strong example because she already has magical critical hit chance as part of her stat scaling. So when Miyu applies blindness to allies through Veil of Insight, those heroes suddenly become much more dangerous. Their magical damage potential increases significantly because their critical hits become more frequent. And this immediately suggests that Miyu will be strongest when paired with magic teams that already have magical critical hit synergy. Now we move to her third skill, Blind Fury. This ability deals magical damage to the central enemy and also damages surrounding enemies. But again, blindness plays a major role here. Enemies that are blinded take increased damage from this attack. So the more blindness effects are active on the battlefield, the stronger this ability becomes. And when you think about it, Miyu's first skill already blinds the entire battlefield, which means Blind Fury will almost always hit enemies that are already affected by blindness. This creates a very powerful internal synergy inside her own kit. First, she spreads blindness across the battlefield. Then, she amplifies the damage taken by blinded enemies. And at the same time, she increases magical critical chance for allies. All of these mechanics combine together to increase the overall damage output of magical teams. Now we arrive at her fourth skill, Gift of the Storm, and this is where Miyu becomes even more dangerous. Each time Miyu or her allies land a critical hit, their magic penetration increases for 5 seconds. This effect can trigger once every 5 seconds. Magic penetration is extremely valuable for magical damage teams because it allows attacks to bypass enemy magic defense. So if your team is capable of landing critical hits consistently, Miyu will continuously increase your team's magic penetration during the fight. And when you combine this with Veil of Insight increasing magical critical chance, you start to see the full synergy. More blindness leads to more magical critical hits. More magical critical hits lead to more magic penetration. And more magic penetration means more damage. This is exactly why heroes like Iris, Fólio, Polaris, and other magical damage dealers can benefit massively from Miyu. Now let's talk about her relic system, because this is where her abilities become even more interesting. The first relic unlocks at level 1. Blinding Storm Cloud. This relic deals magical damage based on Miyu's magic attack. Every 10 seconds, it blinds the nearest enemy that is not already blinded for 6 seconds. If all enemies are already blinded, the central enemy takes damage instead. This relic reinforces Miyu's entire mechanic. It constantly adds more blindness to the battlefield, which means more synergy with her damage abilities and more opportunities for magical critical hit interactions. The second relic unlocks at level 10. This relic enhances Lightning Strike. With this upgrade, blindness now affects the entire battlefield. This makes her first ability even stronger because it guarantees that blindness spreads everywhere during fights, which again feeds directly into the rest of her kit. More blindness means stronger blind fury damage and stronger magical synergy. Now we reach the third relic unlocked at level 20. This relic enhances Veil of Insight. With this upgrade, magical critical hits from blinded allies deal significantly more damage. This is an enormous boost for magical damage dealers, because now the blindness applied to allies doesn't just increase critical hit chance, it also increases the damage of those magical critical hits. And when you think about heroes like Iris or Fólio, you can already imagine how dangerous this synergy can become. Finally, we reach the fourth relic, unlocked at level 30, Eternal Blindness. This relic increases the duration of all blindness effects by 3 seconds. And this is extremely powerful because it extends the entire mechanic that Miyu relies on. Longer blindness duration means longer synergy windows. It means allies benefit longer from magical critical chance. It means enemies remain vulnerable to blind fury damage for longer. And it means the battlefield remains under the storm for extended periods of time. Now the developers mention something very interesting about these relics. All players will be able to obtain them during the adventure progression connected to Miyu. So as players advance through the adventure, they will naturally unlock these relic upgrades, which means her full kit will gradually become stronger as the event progresses. Right now, we are still testing Miyu extensively. This is not a simple hero. She changes the way blindness works in the game. She changes how magical critical hits can interact with team compositions. And she introduces a completely new style of support for magical teams. Heroes like Iris, Fólio, Polaris, and other magic damage dealers can benefit tremendously from her mechanics. But the real potential will only become clear after more testing and experimentation. And that is exactly what we are doing right now. We are pushing her mechanics, testing different compositions, and exploring how far this storm can go. Because one thing is already clear. Miyu is not just another support hero. She is a new mechanic, a new strategy, and possibly the beginning of a completely different type of magical team, warriors. The storm has arrived, and we are only beginning to understand its power. This is Gods of Alliance. We don't build randomly. We build with intention, master the mechanics, control the battlefield, and together, let's break the game.